Good evening, I'm Emma Jane Vale and welcome to your evening news bulletin with Television Tonga News. Making headlines, Her Majesty Queen Nanasipa'u launches the Gavako Heka 2013 program. The Pacific Association Anaesthetists 24th meeting looks at the role of anaesthetists and minimise the risk it poses to patients. And concerns for trade, welfare benefits and education raised in a parliamentary visit to the Eastern District. These and more stories, including news from the Pacific, sports and world, and the weather forecast later on in this bulletin. Let's take a look at the news in detail. Her Majesty Queen Nanasipa'u officially launched the Gavako Heka Program 2013 this morning at the Whaonelua Convention Centre. She also launched the first report on Tonga's traditional roadmap and cultures policy presented to her by the Minister for Internal Affairs, Lord Vaea. Anasiu Falekaono was at the launch of the program and gives you this report.
The Minister of Internal Affairs, Lord Vaea, presented the first report on Tonga's traditional roadmap and cultures policy to the guest of honour, Her Majesty Queen Nanasipa'u, at the official launch of the Gavako Heka 2013 program. In the speech from Her Majesty, she emphasized the importance of our tradition and culture and its meaning. It's the responsibility of our people, all men and women, to preserve and protect our tradition and culture, which is a very important asset of our country. The Gavako Heka program is implemented by the Ministry of Internal Affairs. In the welcome speech from the Internal Affairs Director, Lord Betty Sentuli, he spoke more about the program. The main objective of the Gavako Heka program is to display the beauty of our tradition and culture, such as Tongan dancing. The theme for the Gavako Heka 2013 is Bond Together in Unity. The gafa refers to a strong rope in Tongan, which bounds or ties things together to make it stronger. This morning's event was also attended by the Minister of Education and Training, Diplomatic Corps, and many guests. This is the third time the Gavako Heka program has been held since it began in 2009. Anasiu Falekaono for Television Tonga News.
The Minister of Commerce, Tourism and Labour, Dr. William Latu, will represent Tonga at the 2013 Foreign Trade Ministers meeting in Apia, which starts tomorrow. The two-day annual ministerial meeting serves as a platform for participants to discuss key trade-related issues which affect the region. Here's Kaulani Tongilava with the details.
Information from the Foreign Media Office states that the Foreign Trade Ministers meeting is an opportunity for trade ministers to discuss collectively and make firm commitments towards advancing priority trade matters which affects the kingdom. This year, the trade officials and ministers will be discussing members' engagement in the WTO multilateral trade issues, progress in the negotiations of the regional trade agreements, including the Pacific Agreement on Closer Economic Relations, PESA+. It would also review of the Pacific Aid for Trade Strategy, intellectual property rights and traditional knowledge issues, trade and health linkages, among other trade-related work programs in the region. Trade officials and ministers will also consider the work undertaken by the Pacific Islands Trade and Invest (PTNI) network of offices to promote the Pacific Islands exports and inward investment and tourism promotion. The Pacific Islands Trade and Invest (PTNI) network have branches in Auckland, Beijing, Geneva, Sydney and Tokyo. An updated mandate to progress work on regional trade priorities is expected to be agreed to by the Foreign Trade Ministers. The outcome of the Foreign Trade Ministers meeting will highlight key regional trade-related issues for foreign leaders' consideration at their meeting in September 2013 in Republic of the Marshall Islands. The Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Commerce, Tourism and Labour, Tataf Moyaki, is also in Apia to participate in the trade officials meeting before the ministerial summit.
Anaesthetists Through the Age is this year's theme for the Pacific Association Anaesthetists 24th meeting held in Nuku'alofa. The Director of Health, Dr. Siale Akauola, officially opened the regional gathering this morning at the Tonga National Cultural Centre at Tofoa. It's Fatai Whainga'a with that report.
The regional meeting opens the doors for discussions of the Pacific Anaesthetists Association in regards to their roles and the work they provide. Other issues discussed includes minimizing the risk of the loss of lives of patients who require such treatment. Director of Health Dr. Celia Kauola says Tonga's participation in the regional meeting serves as an opportunity to raise issues of concern in this area and seek assistance from developed countries. This meeting will also enable Tonga to seek assistance from larger countries in terms of its human resources. We can also request for special training for the experts in the region to train the local staff so that when the specialist is off duty, the staff can be able to carry out the anesthetic work. Speaking at the workshop, a local anaesthetist specialist at Viola Hospital, Dr. Benati Tunugwafe, thanked the Australian government for providing Tonga with a specialist in the same field to assist in the daily operations at the hospital. One important aspect in delivering local anesthetic is to ensure the patient is in a stable condition. We have to take a medical checkup of our patient, including taking a blood and heart test, and ensure all their body organs are in good condition to withstand the local anesthetic. These are some of the important factors that might affect the overall result of our work. Leading the delegation from around the Pacific region is the president of the Pacific Association Anesthetist, Dr. Seremaya Mbare from Fiji.
We chose children, pediatrics, mothers who deliver babies, and older population. So our theme is anesthesia through the ages. So children are very important because a large size of them end up in the surgical theatres for fixing broken bones and all sorts of difficult things that children, as we know, get into. And so they are a special group that need to be properly managed, and they're very difficult, they're very challenging to manage. Mothers, part of our job as anaesthetists is to make sure they stay alive, they stay well during surgery as well as childbirth. And what we're trying to do is to help reduce complications from childbirth and preventing a lot of mothers that die that need not die. And we can help with that by looking after them better.
This is the second time for the regional gathering to be held in Tonga. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Whaingaa.
A parliamentary visit made to Golonga villages in the Eastern District has revealed a number of concerns for trade export, welfare benefits and education, to name a few. Kalaine Tongilava tells you more.
One Golonga resident asked Tongatapu People's Representative Number 10, Semis Tapueluelu, to re-establish the government's commodities board. He complained that exporters are getting richer while the farmers have no benefit. He believes a commodity board will help intervene and ensure farmers also benefit from the export and trade of their produce. I would like to see the re-establishment of the commodities board. I don't know why it was dissolved. I'm also concerned for the youth and the increase in offences by youth due to unemployment. I grew up and followed my father in growing the copra and banana for export. I witnessed a positive effect of the board. I wish the government could review this issue so that Tonga could live in harmony. Other issues raised in the visit include the support for community patrol officers, among other issues. I'm more concerned over school delinquency. I'd like to see government and relevant authorities enforcing compulsory education for children. I have spoken with many parents who are unemployed, and an average of 2 children in every family do not go to school for up to a month due to financial challenges. However, the People's Representative says it's the responsibility of parents to ensure their children go to school. It's a hard job, and it's the parents' duties to make sure that their children are in school and behave themselves. We have to look for a way, as we cannot wait until they see the side effect of that. Concerns over the standards of the roads were also raised in the visit. We would like government assistance in the maintenance of road and also provide streetlights. Our children in Class 6 are taking night classes until 9 at night, and some of them walk home after classes with the teacher. We would like to see some streetlights up on our main roads. Concern was also raised to lower the age of people who can be included in the elderly benefit scheme from 75 to 70 years old. In the meeting, Mr. Dabolelu clarified that Golonga is included in the 1.2 million Paanga project of the Ministry of Environment from the construction of a foreshore from Nukuleka to Golonga. In another issue, some of the fishermen asked for government assistance for their fishing boats, which was provided previously but has now been on hold since 2010. There were 10 people in the parliamentary visit out of 518 registered voters from Golonga. For Television Tonga News, I'm Caroline Tonglava.
From court, Anaise Hausia from Vaini has been found guilty for embezzlement. She was sentenced to 9 months imprisonment with a 2-year suspension. She's charged for embezzlement of thousands of paanga while she was a cashier clerk at the Tonga Development Bank. According to the Chief Magistrate, Salis Mafi, she will face immediate imprisonment if she's charged for any offences during the next 2 years. The Ministry of Police continues to upgrade the skills and knowledge of its officers through a workplace attachment with the New Zealand Police. The Staff Development Program lets Tongan police officers see firsthand how New Zealand police officers carry out their duties to the public. Here's Linda Filiai with more on that story.
10 Tongan police officers have returned to Nuku'alofa after taking part in a month-long workplace attachment with the New Zealand Police in June. The Deputy Police Commissioner Lauaitu Tuponiwa says this is the second time officers from Tonga Police have participated in the Staff Development Program, which began last year. This is a capacity building and staff development program for the Ministry of Police. Workplace attachment is different as our local officer can work first-hand with New Zealand police officers. Such experience will add on to their knowledge and they will share this with their fellow officers in Tonga. The Deputy Police Commissioner says the Staff Development Program also look at other areas in work they do. Under this program, we want to ensure that we have an appropriate, good and effective system. We want to make sure we can work well with the public and have good human resource management system. With such improvement, we hope it will improve the overall performance of Tonga Police. The Ministry of Police hopes that a similar workplace programs will continue for its officers in the future.
That's the local news. Pacific News is next. From the Pacific, in Australia, there's been a dramatic rise in the number of Vietnamese seeking asylum arriving in Australia by boat, with figures showing a 34% increase. Yesterday, 84 Vietnamese asylum seekers were intercepted off Broome on Western Australia's north coast.
Figures from Australia's Immigration Department reveal that 759 Vietnamese people have arrived on vessels in Australia so far just this year. The greatest number of Vietnamese boat arrivals on record was 868, who arrived in 1977, 2 years after the fall of the South Vietnamese regime. The rise is believed to be due to an increase in oppression by the communist forces in Vietnam.
And the asylum seeker issue also figured highly during a worldwide visit to Papua New Guinea by the Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd. Mr. Rudd and his counterpart Peter O'Neill took the opportunity to respond to United Nations Human Rights Report for asylum seeker.
In rugby league mad PNG, allegiances are sacred.
Me strong Pella Maroon supporter.
But it's the country's entrenched law and order problems that Kevin Rudd and his PNG counterpart Peter O'Neill have pledged to improve.
By year's end, Australia will deploy 50 Australian police in visible policing roles in Port Moresby and Lae. Our law and order cooperation will not stop there.
A timely announcement a day after soldiers armed with guns and machetes attacked people at a hospital in Port Moresby.
This is a good start. Good start in that we need to rebuild capacities within the police force of Papua New Guinea. We all know the challenges that we have there.
The two leaders also turned their attention to the UN's Refugee Agency's latest report slamming living conditions at the Australian-run Manus Island Detention Centre for asylum seekers.
We are rebuilding the permanent structure there. Papua New Guinea government has always stated that it must be a regional effort. It will be in the future. More illegal immigrants and refugees and asylum seekers will continue to come.
As this project is rolled out, we'll be mindful of those recommendations as we construct the facility.
Back home, the Australian opposition is not impressed.
He doesn't believe in stronger border protection policies. That's why he got rid of the John Howard policies at his first attempt and failed attempt at being Prime Minister. You can't trust Kevin Rudd to implement policies he doesn't believe in.
While the prospects for asylum seekers remain dire, Papua New Guineans are set for smoother travel to major cities in Australia's north, with dedicated passenger lanes in Brisbane and Cairns.
And will allow PNG citizens to use the immigration processing lanes as holders of Australian and New Zealand passports currently do.
On health, Mr. Rudd says Canberra will provide $160 million over 4 years to improve facilities at hospitals across PNG. Girish Saulani, ABC News.
That's Pacific News. Sports is up next with Pierre Ollier.
In sport, the Tongan national cricket team will tomorrow welcome the Ocean 11 team from New Zealand at the Whala Oheleni ground. Tonga's expansion towards the game enables the selection of a national team that will welcome the visiting team for the second time. The interim leader of Tonga's national cricket, Isaki Haukanima, says they are fortunate for their closer ties with local clubs, despite the temporary penalty given to them by the International Cricket Organization, banning them from some of the international tournament. Not only that, but they are also hoping to gain public support to enable them to accomplish their goals, including self-exposure to international clubs. Meantime, Mr. Haukanima says the national team will be captained by Efalame Laumape, and the rest of the teams includes Lea Tenisi, Paulavoni, Salesi Laumape, Ioane Wikeloto, e Misi Afemui, Sione Javier Pese, Se Misi Lato, Halos Talakai, Mounga Savieti, Aisake Haukanima, Kolo Mahe, Sami Pese, Maka, Vaukakala, Afelangi, and Fuatalevu Tuyanetoa. Tonga's national cricket selection coaches are Neo Taulani and Atunai Sampese. Meanwhile, Honourable Minister Seng Saulala retains his presidency position. Queensland Reds will have James Howell and Will Kenya back, but are sweating on the fitness of defensive Anthony Fainga'a for their Super Rugby elimination final against the Crusaders in Christchurch. Sendar Fainga'a is battling a hamstring injury, which forced him to become a late scratching from the Reds' 14-12 final round win over New South Wales on Saturday night. If fit, the 23-test Wallabies midfielder will be an automatic replacement for Mike Harris at number 12 on Saturday night after the Kiwi Pawn utility picked up his own low-grade hamstring strain against the Waratahs at Ainsett Stadium. But Reds coaching boss Evan McKenzie said Fainga'a was racing the clock to be selected on Thursday morning. Queensland had options in the midfield if Fainga'a is ruled out, with youngster Chris Saudia in line to be promoted to outside centre in a move which would see Ben Tapuai move to inside centre. All Blacks captain Richie Magoa is anticipated to make his return to top-level rugby playoff on the bench for Saturday with the Crusaders. The 32-year-old loose forward, who is yet to play Super Rugby this season after taking time away from the game, turned out for his Christchurch club side last weekend and played 80 minutes. The Crusaders faced the Queensland Reds in the Super Rugby playoff on Saturday, and coach Todd Blackadder, who watched some of Makoa's club match, said he was in line for future against the 2011 champions. Blackadder said it was a difficult decision for him to make, but one he was glad to have. The Crusaders, 7-time winners of the competition, have not faced the Reds this season. And New Zealand international standoff Benji Marshall, one of the superstars of Australia's National Rugby League, has sought an early release from his contract with West Tigers, the club said yesterday. West Tigers chief executive Grant Mayer said Marshall was seeking a release from the final 2 years of his contract, and reports linked him to switch to Super Rugby. Marshall has long been attempted that he will not play against the Tigers, which leaves his Super Rugby as his likely destination, the report said. Auckland Blues coach John Cowan has held talks with Marshall's manager Martin Dauber, but the Sydney Morning Herald reported that Dauber is expected to begin formal discussions with New South Wales Wanderers coach Michael Jager. Dauber stressed that Marshall did not have a deal confirmed with any rugby union outfit, the newspaper said. Marshall, 28, has been the key playmaker for the West Tigers since making his first-grade debut in 2003. And that's sports news.
From World News, in China, floods, landslide and Typhoon Sulik have claimed the lives of at least 295 people across China. Rescue workers are continuing to help those who are stranded by the flooding, while in other parts, cleanup has already begun.
This part of Sichuan province was still recovering from a devastating earthquake just a few months ago when the torrential rains began. They set off some of the worst flash flooding in 50 years, sweeping away houses, damaging roads and bridges, and forcing more than 1,000 people to leave their homes.
Up to now, we've managed to contact all 2,600 residents in our town, and we've already evacuated all those who need to be evacuated, around 1,300 or 1,400 of them.
In other parts of the country, firefighters and soldiers helped fish residents out of their partially submerged homes after they'd been isolated by floodwaters and damaged roads. Some weren't so lucky. 8 tourists were killed and 10 others injured when a torrent of water hit Guangxi.
We split into 5 groups and conducted searches for the tourists along this 5-kilometre-long section of the river with the help of locals.
In Yunnan province, 8 people were killed when a bus carrying 27 passengers plunged down a ravine in the heavy rain. Rescuers managed to pull the others out, though 4 are said to be seriously injured. And in this part of Guangdong, Typhoon Sulik triggered rockfalls and rainstorms that forced riverbanks to burst, flooding roads and farmland. Residents here have already begun cleaning up, although it will take some time for the full extent of the damage to be revealed. Sajid Ranithi, ABC News.
In India, a court in Bangladesh has found a top Islamist leader guilty of masterminding an atrocity during the 1971 War of Independence in Pakistan. Ghulam Azam was sentenced to 90 years in jail, including murder and torture.
Elderly and frail, Ghulam Azam is led into court accused of crimes against humanity. Ghulam Azam was the head of the country's largest Islamic party, Jamaat-e-Islami, during the 1971 War of Independence against Pakistan. The International Crimes Tribunal found the 90-year-old guilty on 5 charges, including murder and torture.
The tribunal came to a conclusion that he deserves highest penalty of death. But considering his age and ailments in prison, he has been awarded different terms of sentence, totaling a sentence of 90 years or unto death in prison.
But some believe anything less than a death sentence is not a worthy outcome.
As a freedom fighter, I'm happy with this verdict, as he was the #1 war criminal, but I'd be much happier if he got the death penalty.
Mr. Azam had faced more than 60 counts of crimes against humanity for his role in setting up militia groups during the war. He denied the charges. It's the 5th sentence passed against current and former party leaders by the tribunal, which is not endorsed by the United Nations. Previous convictions have sparked violence, and as Mr. Azam remains the spiritual leader of Jamaat-e-Islami, there are fears there could be a repeat. Unrest would be a thorny challenge for the government, which is gearing up for polls early next year. Sam Balaitho, ABC News.
That's World News. We'll now take a look at the latest weather bulletin. Our trough lies slow-moving over the north of the group. Meanwhile, a ridge of high pressure pushing from the southwest directs a moderate to fresh southeast wind flow over Tonga. Forecast to midnight tomorrow for Tonga, moderate southeast winds, fresh at times, cloudy with some showers over the Niuas, Vava'u and Hawaii. Elsewhere, cloudy periods with brief light showers. For Thursday, moderate to fresh southeast winds, cloudy periods with a few showers about the Newers and Vava'o. Elsewhere, mainly fine. For the temperature forecast for Nuku'alofa, it will reach a minimum of 20 degrees Celsius tonight. For the Marine Weather Bulletin, forecast at midnight tomorrow for all Tonga coastal waters. A strong wind warning remains in force for all Tonga coastal waters. Southeast winds 15 to 25 knots, rising up to 30 knots at times. Moderate to rough seas with a moderate to heavy southeast swell. That's the Weather Bulletin, but before I leave, let's take a final look at today's top stories. Her Majesty Queen Nanasipa'u launches the Gavako Heka 2013 program. The Pacific Association Anaesthetists 24th meeting looks at the role of anaesthetists and minimise the risk it poses to patients. And concerns for trade, welfare benefits and education raised in a parliamentary visit to the Eastern District. That ends our news for tonight. For more on these stories, you can call us on 23556 or you can check out our website on www.tonga-broadcasting.net. I'm Emma Jane Vea. Thanks for watching. Good evening.